Okay. It's 5:30. I'm going to call our work session to order tonight. And tonight we've dedicated our work session time to representatives from the school board. We have Dr. Davis, Dr. DeBarbary, and Ms. Kim Weil. She's the business manager and assistant superintendent for the school. And they're going to give us a presentation on the current proposed school budget.
Great. Well, thank you very much for having us, and we appreciate the collaboration.
Would you like, no microphone? Okay.
I'm good. Can everybody hear me? I'm from Barneveld. I have a good projecting voice. We yell out there. So I do want to thank everyone. We definitely have had a great opportunity to be presenting into the communities and with the town boards. We met also with the Rotary and all our faculty. So we really appreciate being here tonight, and we're hoping after tonight that we can answer any questions that everyone might have. But the budget starts with a process in October, and we work with a variety of groups, our teachers, our administrators. We have a community group, as well as our Board of Education. The process is lengthy, and everything that we do links back to our district mission statement and our goal. And students have to be the center of all our decisions. So we start with the student data. We see where our gaps are, and then we move forward from there. So we see what is it that the students need. Coming off of COVID-19, we do see a lot of gaps in the learning. So you're going to hear tonight a lot of the interventions that will help support our students moving forward. Everything from academic to social and emotional needs that we have seen have been a huge increase, not just here in Baldwinsville, but statewide. So it has had a negative impact of keeping people at home and doing 100% learning online. So we're hoping we don't have to go back to that model ever again. But certainly we know that did not work well for our learners statewide. From there, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. DeBarbary to talk a little bit about our strategic plan.
So we are in the process right now of redeveloping a new strategic plan. Our current strategic plan has been in existence for 5 years, so we have a new plan that committee is working through with representation from around our school community as a whole. Right now we're looking at building, educating, and empowering. All of this work was based on a community perception survey that was put out early in the fall. And again, as Dr. Davis mentioned earlier, when we build our budgets in the future and all the decisions that we make, it will be based on the work that has come out of our strategic plan. So we're excited about that and hope to have that finalized by June at this point. Our budget development process, as Dr. Davis mentioned, involves a variety of stakeholders. Being here and having the opportunity to reach out to all of you and present what we are proposing is important to us. We've had lunch and learns. We have the public hearing on May 8th. The Community Budget Advisory Committee meetings that we've had. For each of the budget areas, we have representation from around the community and our teaching staff, asking and providing feedback, and then we present those proposed budgets, various components, to the Board of Education for essentially 2 readings. The first reading where they go in depth, and then a second reading for review and questions. And that process culminates in what we have here this evening, and again we're excited about because it does focus all on our students. So if we start to shift here to the financial impacts of this budget, we do want to highlight some examples here of our students and their work. We have our Beginning Strings program represented on both the left and right picture at our elementary level. And then the picture in the center is also elementary strings. It represents our McNamara Strings program. They actually presented or performed in front of all of New York State School Boards Association members this year at the convention in Syracuse. And Kim's going to highlight some of the budget impacts, and then we'll talk a little bit more in detail about how this impacts our students.
So just quickly, and we'll, as Dr. DeBarbary said, go into more detail. We have to stay within our tax cap, or we chose to stay within our tax cap. You'll see as we talk through this. Our state aid, we got a significant increase that is a one-time thing that we got from the state based on our foundation aid not being fully funded previously, and we'll talk a little bit about how we're strategizing with that. And then the increases are pretty similar to things most people experience. We are a very people-heavy industry, so our salaries and benefits are a large part of our budget. And we are kind of flipping through this because this is our large PowerPoint that we had on our website. So the rest of the detail of this will be presented at our public hearing on May 8th.
So the high impact tutoring set aside funds, you heard Kim say that we are now fully funded with foundation aid. $875,000 of that foundation aid is being put aside by the governor for our district to say that we need to spend that specifically on students that are in grades 3 through 8 that have a severe loss of learning due to COVID-19. So that funding cannot be spent on any other grade level. It's specifically targeted for 3 through 8. We don't have the regulations yet on that, so we're not sure how that's going to look. Does that mean after school, before school, on the weekends, or is that going to be baked in during the school day? So we're still waiting for the Commissioner of Education to give us a little more feedback. The one thing that we don't know at this point is the legislators. We have not seen the legislative runs yet, and we don't know if they're going to lift that restriction on those set-aside funds. If they do lift that restrictions, then that funding will be shifted to our music program. And Joe will be talking a little bit more about how that will look.
Do you mind if I just, you're going real quick, if that's okay? What, I've never heard of this foundation. What is this foundation? Is that separate from the state education?
So that's the general aid that we get. So it's also inclusive of your BOCES aid. So it's the aid that the state gives the district to operate. They call it foundation aid.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you definitely ask questions along the way.
Yeah, please
We're
do.
happy to stop it.
So I like to think of foundation aid as the aid that comes to our district. It's based on a number of factors. There's a calculation that the state uses. The foundation aid formula has not been able to run the way it should be, which is why we're experiencing a large increase this year, because our student population has been more stable than other districts, and we were one of the last districts to be fully funded. That aid comes to us without it being an expense-driven aid. A lot of the aids you hear us talking about or we have in school districts are monies that we have to spend, and then it generates aid the following year, like our transportation aid, capital projects. We'll talk a little bit more about those type of details, but it's really the aid that typically comes to us that we can spend it any way we choose, which is where the dilemma comes in with the strings attached to that one portion of it for this year, this coming year only.
I just want to make one comment. So this is a public hearing, so I think that you encourage questions. So if you have a question for any of the school board administrators, just raise your hand and make sure you're acknowledged. Just don't yell them out, but they want some interaction from us.
Absolutely.
Sorry for walking in 2 minutes late. What is there any specific, or is this just long-term budget? Is there specific projects you're speaking about, or that we can just?
So this is the budget for next school year.
Okay.
We will talk a little bit more about the capital improvement projects that are going to be another proposition.
Yeah, I saw that as I went into the library the other day. Hey, this might be off base, but I see a lot of commentators talking on talk radio about it. What are you guys' feelings about artificial intelligence, Chat GPT, replacing teachers 10 years from now because they've done in 2 or 3 days, Chat GPT.
Okay, you're getting a little bit off base. So if you have some questions about the budget that they can answer, I mean, the artificial intelligence, you can ask them later on. I think that's going to be a longer discussion.
Budget-wise, if we're using that on teachers.
Are you going to talk about?
We're not using that for teachers.
So we're not using that today.
We do have conversation about technology and enhanced technology that our committees are working with, and it's something that is certainly on our minds.
Yeah, just when I was a senior in that school, we got our first computer. You fed cards that had little dots that got poked out in it.
Yeah.
And so I'm sure now everything's Wi-Fi and you can study it. Fantastic. Wish we would have had that. But fantastic. I just was wondering, I'll ask you maybe outside what your thoughts would be regarding the technology going forward.
Sure, absolutely.
I just had a quick question about the increase in this state aid. Is that something where the increased amount will be consistent in future years? Or is it something where you want to make sure that it's not adding to expense in future years because it won't?
So it is an increase that will stay with us forever. However, going forward into the 24-25 school year, we can't anticipate getting this large of an increase again. It may be a 3% if we're lucky. That's what our neighboring districts are seeing that are already fully funded.
And it should be noted too, that's money that was owed to the district for years. We were underfunded. So it's taken years of advocacy. We've gone to Albany as superintendents, and we really have advocated strong to have our districts fully funded. So finally it's happening, and we have to be careful about how we spend it. If you put too many legacy costs, long-term legacy costs into the budget, then, and you're only going to be getting potentially 3% moving forward, that puts us at risk. So some of the things we're going to be talking about tonight will show you how that's going to work, because right now we're coming off of COVID-19 ARPA funds. So those funds are dropping off, and the foundation aid's going to pick up some of those initiatives, which Joe will be going through in detail. And what we've chosen to do in this budget is there are going to be some permanent positions, but there's also going to be some I call them one-shot purchases, so that we can boost a program, and that way those funds can be diverted the following year to salary benefits and other needs, so that we don't pass that on to the taxpayer.
So along with that, and we already talked about the ARPA funding, is that we have a long-range financial plan that we discuss with our audit committee every June, and then it goes to our Board of Education at our reorg meeting to be reviewed and readopted. In that plan, it talks about our reserves, which is basically our savings accounts for the district, how much we would like to have those funded, how we would like to spend those in the future. So we are planning, kind of to the discussion we were just having, how do we take these dollars and make sure we're pushing them out and being fiscally responsible into the future?
Oh, one last thought.
Yeah, go ahead.
I know in May, and I don't know the exact date, I think it might be the 18th, this board is having an open public hearing regarding some septic projects that could impact the Palmer.
And we'll talk about that. And
I would say that would be a good thing to attend.
They're aware of that, and we'll talk about that at that time. We're trying to get through the school budget, so they're not prepared to talk about that tonight, but they will be here on the 18th to talk.
That's what I didn't
Yep.
want. I would
Yep.
just say, hey, it might be a good thing for
Yep.
them to attend on that date. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's on our calendar.
Thank you.
So major budget highlights here, what we want to point out are the instructional positions and the non-instructional positions that we have built into this budget. It's important to know that the positions that we are currently funding in the 2022-23 budget are maintained with a few additions. I'm highlighting here in gray, hopefully you can see it from there, there's some shading, the 4 school counselors, the response to intervention personnel, our school resource officers, SRPOs, and the learning coaches. Those are positions that we've added for student social emotional learning as well as safety over the last year and a half. And they were funded through the American Rescue Plan Act funds, the federal funds that we received. So we have, we know they're important. We want to make sure that we have them long term. So we are embedding them into our general fund budget for this year. That's why they're highlighted here as new positions, even though technically they're not new. But given the funding source, it will be a part of our general operating budget. The additional positions that we are adding based on student need, special education teacher at the junior high school, a special education itinerant teacher servicing our preschool, our pre-kindergarten students across the district, and one assistive technology learning coach to help students and teachers with adaptive assistive technology based on their learning needs. And English is a new language teacher. We have a lot of families that are moving into our school community that English is not their first language, and so we are required by state regulations to provide additional supports to help them transition and learn the language and meet with success within the classroom. So we have an additional ENL teacher baked in. And the last new instructional position is one adaptive physical education teacher / health teacher that will work based on student needs. And we have a few additional clerical support being added as well across our elementary schools and within our transportation center. The big purchase, not personnel related, and it ties back to Dr. Davis's first point regarding one-time purchases, and that is for musical instruments at our beginning band and strings level, grades 3, 4, and 5. So we know that there's a lot of families, our percentage of free and reduced lunch, those considered low income, that number is rising within our school community, and so we want to make sure that all students have access to participate in our performing arts program. And we know that when students are connected to something in their schools, whether it's extracurricular, they're more likely to find success, have that connection, social, emotionally, and also perform better academically. So we have built that into the budget this year so that moving forward, those funds can be diverted to the legacy costs that Dr. Davis mentioned. We're required to present our budget in 3 parts: the administrative, the program, and the capital component. So Dr. Davis is going to first highlight the administrative component for you.
And I am going to slide over here because there's a glare over here. So our administrative budget, what's in the soup? First is the Board of Education district meetings. Our Board of Education, they're volunteers, they're not paid positions. The funding there is for the district meetings, workshops, materials that they may need. They are required to go through training to be a Board of Education member, so we do have to support that training. Central administration would include the superintendent, it would include all of our finance department, legal, HR, public information, records management. And this year, you're going to see an increase here. We did not add administrators here. What you're seeing the increase is we recoded instructional coaches, which are teachers that work at the point of instruction. We had to recode them to central admin services due to new changes in the law. So those had to be changed. Supervision, regular school, you see a slight increase here. I'm sorry, Kim. And that's because our principals and assistant principals, currently right now, our principals are 12 months. Our assistant principals work 11 months. They're going to be 12-month employees because we run programs all summer. We have summer school programs. Students are on campus. The supervision is necessary. So you see some contractual increases here. What you're going to see in the end, though, when you look at the bottom, the percent of budget increase in 22-23 it was 8.78%, and in 23-24, 8.60%. So we did have to do some recoding, and basically the contractual obligations is where you see your increases.
So when we look at the program component, the way I think of program component, anything that impacts our students, it's student focused, student generated. So you'll see here, it's the largest component. It represents 78.24% of the overall budget. And as Dr. Davis mentioned, there was some shift in staff development that was coming out of this budget and moved to the administrative component. Up here in technology, we also had to make some adjustments. You'll see a reduction, but that reduction of just under $1 million, or over, I can't count here, was shifted to the capital project. And that's for our technology leases based on GASB 87 or something of that nature. We had to move our leases to a capital area of our budget. So overall, like I said, 78%, it's the largest part of our overall budget, and it is solely focused on our students.
So with the capital component of our budget, you can see that in all 3 parts of our budget, you will see the category of employee benefits. That's because we have staff in all of those, including this area, because this includes anything that we do with our physical infrastructure, which includes all of our people that care for our buildings on a daily basis.
Kim, can I just say something? We have over 1,000 employees. So when you think about that, that's quite a number, and we service 5,000 students. So when you think of those numbers, then it puts things a little more in perspective.
So you'll see here, as Dr. DeBarber was talking about that debt service increase, that isn't because we have increased our debt service in regards to capital projects or anything like that, which we typically carry in this line. We were required because of that GASB 87 to move anything that we lease, and we lease a number of our computer devices, Chromebooks and those types of things that our students actually use. So that's been shifted over here. And overall, very small increase, and like I said, that increase is due to the move. We have increased our facilities expenses slightly. I think we all know costs are going up for any sort of supplies that we're utilizing on a regular basis, so we needed to account for that there as well. In regards to the capital outlay project, this is a $100,000 project that's built into our budget every year. The nice thing about this is when we do this work, we actually get about $87,000 back because our aid ratio from the state for anything that we do through a capital project is about 87%. We'll talk more about that when we get to our capital project. The work next year that we plan on doing is at McNamara. It has to do with safety and security based on the PA system and making sure that's functional, in addition to some work outside and some office reconstruction. This is something that we have been doing at Baldwinsville for a number of years. The nice thing about these things is, like I said, this is one of those things we pay for it this year, but we get aid back next year. Once we get in that cycle, though, we always have the aid coming back from the previous year to help maintain that expense.
So as you look at our overall, just another way of representing the budget for the 2023-24 school year, it shows our percent changes. Yes, it looks like there's a significant percent change in total budget, 8.59%. That is not typical. The only reason you see that this year is because of the increased foundation aid. So we're trying to monopolize and recode some of the positions that we've added over time into our general fund. Historically, we float around that, anywhere between 2 and 4% change, and so we would expect that next year is in the proposed 24-25 budget.
So we look at the revenue side of the budget and, where are the funds coming from? Not just the foundation aid, but we also payment in lieu of tax pilots. Other revenues would be like gate fees, would be Medicaid reimbursement, it would be, there are also donations, there's all kinds of things that districts get for additional revenues. Your estimated state aid, you can see here, is where you see the significant increase, and that offsets the increase that Dr. DeBarber was talking about. That increase was mitigated by the increase in, offset by the increase in the foundation aid. Your building aid is pretty consistent. We have planned projects. We try to keep that number consistent. And then your appropriated fund balance. So any of our money that's left over this year, we apply it to next year's budget. So we do apply $1.6 million to offset the impact to taxpayers. Your appropriation from reserves, we have some cyclic bills. ERS, TRS, Teachers Retirement System, those bills come every year, they're quite large. And what we've done is we have a long-range financial plan for reserves. We use our reserves to pay those bills, so we apply them so it doesn't, it lightens the impact to our budget. And then your levy, that would be coming from our taxpayer. And then our total revenue obviously matches our expenditures. And it gives us a balanced budget.
So one of the things that we've been talking to some of our town partners about is the assessed values of our entire district. So what this slide is showing is how much the total assessed values have gone up over the years, which is over $5 billion in the last few years. The reason we point this slide out is because when we go to take a look at how we do our tax rate, so the tax cap is based on our tax levy. And then we push that levy over the total assessed value. So what we're finding is when you look at our Hive newsletter, we always project out a tax rate for every $100,000 of assessed value for properties. When we're projecting that this time of year, it's the blue line that's going across. What we're projecting on is based on last year's property assessments, because we don't have that information available to us until July or August, when we're getting ready to take our tax warrant to the board to approve. And what we're finding when we looked back at this is when we actually calculate that tax rate per thousand, it ends up being the red line that we're following versus what we're projecting because of the assessed value being so much more from year to year. One of the discussions that we've had is how can we tell how much of this is actually reassessment versus new build, because we know there's a lot of construction going on. And as we were speaking the other day, we kind of think that this year we'll have a better sense of that because of the way that this town in particular and the other large town in our district is deciding to handle that assessment process. We are within our tax cap, as we mentioned, 2.85%. There's a number of things that go into that tax cap calculation. I know a lot of people believe the tax cap calculation gives us a tax levy increase of 2%. The 2% is one factor in the calculation. It takes pilots into consideration. It takes in to consideration our capital projects, the growth factor, which obviously is capped at 2% versus the 6 to 8% that we've been experiencing in the last few years.
So if the voters don't approve the proposed budget, two things can either happen. We either go directly to a contingent, or we reduce the budget and try to go back out to our voters. On the next slide, I just wanted to talk a little bit more about the impact of that. So we're looking, if we do have to go contingent, that's 1.4 million that we would have to reduce in the budget, and there would be no equipment purchases, and outside groups would have to pay the full amount for using the facility. There would be reductions to the administrative line item as well as program line item, and the Board of Education would have to determine what would constitute an ordinary contingent expense as we build what those reductions would be.
Can I ask a question on that, please?
Yes.
What is the cost of the outside groups using your facilities that you identify that as one of the bullets that you're going to prohibit happening? It seems a bit vindictive or spiteful.
Well, that's a state rule.
Okay.
It's not, the district doesn't determine that. I'm glad you asked that question. That is required under the law. We have no control over that. So, and right now, we have people that work in the evenings, so we absorb those costs. So if there is, the cleanup after those groups leave, Joe, you may want to speak to it a little bit.
Yeah, we have ultimately, I think we've done a great job. Mostly Baker High School is the facility that is used the most by our school community groups. And we have people pretty much around the clock in those buildings, so it helps because unless it's like a Sunday when there's truly nobody there and they're looking to use that space, they're really not charged because of,
So have
you
you determined, and that's interesting what you're saying. It would be curious to me or interesting to me to know what your annual cost is for allowing outside groups to use for your facilities pro bono. It would be an interesting number for the voters, I think, to know.
Yeah,
And we can certainly, we have the ability within our management system there to calculate that. It might take a little bit of time, but,
they would be billed a portion of that employee's time in terms of cleanup, setup, those types of things. But it's a good point that you make.
And there's a range. I mean, it's between $125 and $150 per hour.
Yeah, I'm just curious overall in 1 year, how,
Right.
You're providing your facilities has a value of.
No, that's a great idea because in the past, I mean, we've been fortunate. The community's been supportive of our budgets, and we hope that that's the case moving forward. I can certainly see in very difficult times that information would hopefully help to,
It's also interesting
Sure.
that it's not a local decision, that you're saying it's a state decision. I had not heard that before.
Now, we spoke the other day, and could you address, you were talking about opening up the facilities more for public use. So you got it in the slide?
Well, we don't have it in the slide, but when we get to the point where we're talking a little bit more about the capital projects, we're looking to renovate the pool. The pool's in a location right now where we're looking to move it in Baker High School, become a six-lane pool, more competitive, along with an indoor track facility within the gymnasium. We know, I mean, the community could certainly take advantage of some of this space. So there are schools where they've put new pools in place and walking or running tracks. They've opened it up to the school community certain times when athletics and other extracurricular groups aren't using them. And so that is a conversation that we've had. We know that the community, if they're supportive of this work, then why aren't we making it available? So that is a conversation that we've been having, we'll continue to have with the board, hopefully when this project is approved. But it is certainly something that we think is important. I mean, the schools are the community hub, and we want people to access these facilities.
I would like to see, in some schools they're doing right now, in the district that I live in, we have a swim program in the morning for, the community. So I go at 5 o'clock in the morning. There's a large group of us that swim, we do lap swimming, and that indoor track would be a great walking club for your community, especially in the winter. It's good for the kids to see, the parents and community leaving in the morning, going downstairs, getting their coffee at the cafe while the kids are entering. You're leaving, you've done your exercise, but those are the types of things you really want. And I know our community here would just love, in the winter, you don't, with the snow and everything, it's a little unsafe to walk outside. So this would provide a wonderful opportunity, first thing in the morning or after school, get the walking club going, and or running clubs.
And we do have partnerships, obviously, with the town of Lysander Rec, the town of Van Buren Rec program, and if there's a way, if there are some associated costs with opening up that, let's just say for a lifeguard, maybe there's a way to work that out too as part of the recreation program where, we can't take money from people, right? But certainly the town of Lysander Rec's department could orchestrate this work within our facilities and help along the way. So we're open to dialogue when this gets approved.
Does that also, excuse me,
No, go ahead.
would that also include the auditorium? You have got the state of the art, say if somebody wanted to, like the theater guild had a play there
Yes.
last year. Are the costs reasonable for something like that?
Yeah, when they're using it, when we have the facilities open, absolutely. Where there have been concerns in the past with outside groups using them, it's that additional cost to have above and beyond, like they want a special performance on a Sunday, or bringing in our technicians to run the equipment. So there is a little bit of give and take, but it is, we're reasonable, and we've been able to work through those situations.
There are some
with-
guidelines that we have to
Yeah.
follow.
It has to be a not-for-profit, and it has to be, or a governmental agency. It can't be a for-profit organization, and there are a few that have requested use of our facilities, and we've had to turn them away. The auditorium specifically, because it is such a beautiful space.
It is.
Part of our capital project at Baker High School does involve renovations to the entire science wing at the high school, bringing us into the 21st century, state-of-the-art facilities. These rooms really haven't been touched since they were put in place many, many years ago, and so the rendering on the left is conceptual of what that space will look like. Certainly a lot more project-based learning occurring within the settings that you see on the right.
Do you want me to go back?
Sure, you can go back to the field. So we are looking to add, as part of this project, a multi-purpose field right here on the main campus. It would provide an opportunity for our varsity baseball team and our varsity softball team to be housed here on the main campus in an all-weather facility. They could compete at the same time, simultaneously. That all-weather space would also have another field for fall athletics, marching band, and we know that given the use of our current stadium with the field turf, everyone's trying to have access, and by opening up another space is just going to really enhance the opportunities that our students have. And because it's so centrally located here on the campus, you have the high school, Eldon Elementary School, and Durkee Junior High School all being able to utilize that space during the day for classes, whether it's regular classes, teachers want to take their students out and have instruction outside, or physical education, they'd be able to utilize that space. We talked a little bit about the pool. The other enhancement here, as I mentioned, was the gymnasium. If you look at the gymnasium has not been really touched since it was put in for the most part. It's very, very small in comparison to the size of the student population that we have and the size of the athletic competition that we compete. We're in Class AA. It is the smallest gymnasium, I think, out of all the Class AA schools. So we'll be looking to expand that gymnasium where it actually butts up to where the current pool is. And so it would be expanded, and that all-weather indoor track facility would be added. That covers the construction at Baker High School and on the main campus. The other piece to this project involves Ray Middle School. So similar to the work that was approved last budget, or capital projects vote in May, we are looking to enhance what I would refer to as the STEAM, your technology, your family consumer science, your CTE, your fine arts, your music space within Ray Middle School. So we're enhancing those classrooms through a renovation, making it more suitable to, again, the needs of our students. And so there's quite a bit of renovation there at the middle school. And that work, whether we move forward with plans to make adjustments to the grade configuration or not, whether 7th grade goes to the high school and Ray becomes a 5-6 building, or who knows what's next in the future, the work that we're doing at that facility is useful no matter which way we go. So overall, our project is $63.9 million. You'll notice that we're using 11.7% of that is represented in the capital reserve. The reason we have those reserves are to offset the cost to the local taxpayer. 11.9% is covered in the local share, and then the majority of this project, 76.4%, is represented in state aid. And I believe the next slide, Kim, will give you a little bit more of a picture of what that impact is to the homeowner.
Right, so one of the things when we're talking about capital projects that we like to point out is that it takes a number of years to complete this work. So this impact in regards to the tax levy will not be seen to the taxpayer until at least 26, 27, or even beyond, based on the timing of getting the work complete and then funding those projects for the life of them that we will have to pay for. So this is just another visual. That $7.5 million out of the capital reserve definitely helps with maintaining that tax levy. The other thing that we're working on is a long-range infrastructure plan, similar to our long-range financial plan. So we're taking a look at all of the factors that impact our capital projects, from our current debt service when we have debt paid off so that we can bring another project on and keep that stable, as well as maximizing the state aid in regards to facilities planning. So we're taking all of those pieces and looking at them closely in regards to looking at future projects. For example, the work that we're doing at Derby is still in the design phase, even though that was approved a year ago. So we haven't even started doing any bidding, anything in regards to that project yet. So it takes a period of time, which is why we are being proactive in regards to the build that we are anticipating here from Micron and or the current build that is going on, so we're prepared for that. We're going to be looking at another committee. Most people are familiar with Funding the Future. When J.B. Rodham's, my predecessor, was involved with that committee, and then we kind of had to take a pause in regards to the pandemic. We're going to start that energy again too, so we can look at the rest of our district and make sure we're doing the best things we can for our students and community. Just a quick visual of that closeout as we talked about, at least 26, 27, if not beyond. These are our 4 proposals.
So you have 5 propositions. The first is your budget. It's a little over 129 million. The second is 2.2 million for 14 new buses. As I said before, we have 5,000 students. They don't all ride the bus, but we do require transportation for the students. We are on a 10-year replacement plan for our buses. and that is an expense-driven aid, so we do get the aid. We do get a large age percentage back the following year after a purchase. Our third proposition is the capital project that Dr. DeBarbery shared with you tonight. The capital reserve, you heard Kim tonight talk a little bit about that capital reserve helps offset the cost to the local share. So we are going out to the voters to ask if we can move our funds in our budget to the capital reserve to help offset future expenses on those capital projects. The fifth proposition is a property acquisition that's over at Ray Middle School. There's only one entrance in and out of Ray, which is, how many of you have driven down that street? And you can attest, I was the interim principal there in 2018, and we're all unloading 1,000 students. And as we're doing that, we have at least 50 cars, maybe 60 cars of parent drop-off. And then the food truck comes in that wants to drop the bread off. And this is twice a day, and there's one entrance, which is really a safety issue. If you ever want to get a fire truck in there at that time, it isn't going to happen. So we are purchasing some property. It's a condemned home, and they'll give us a second drive in and out of that facility. It's really a safety issue, and it really is a safety issue not only for the school, but for the road entering into the school. The traffic is jammed up and causes a lot of problems in the morning, especially if people are trying to get to work and hop on the thruway over there. That's not the place to go.
No, I have a question.
Yes.
You're talking about the replacement for the buses. What are the regulations you anticipate, you heard from the state, insofar as electric buses?
Well, we have, and I know the initial number or year that we had to be fully, start the process was 25, 26, correct?
Then they pushed it out.
Yeah, it's pushed out now. So we have looked at electric buses. I went to school board's conference this past winter, and the batteries alone, with the batteries and the buses, it's almost double the cost, the buses. And the other question is, will the buses fit in the bays? And those batteries, from what I understand, and I talked to the vendors, God forbid they overheat and they go on fire, you have to step back and just let it burn. Right now they're saying there's no way to extinguish that fire. I don't know if we have any firefighters here, but what we're hearing is get the kids off the bus and move away quickly. And it could potentially, especially if something like that happened, in your lot with your other buses, it puts a lot of equipment at risk. So we don't have all the answers that we need. The other thing that we don't know yet, and I talked to the vendors, is the charging stations. So if we take a trip, from Baldwinsville at night, let's say we bus kids in the morning, we bus them in the afternoon, then we take a night trip, and we're busing to another district that's quite a distance, are they going to have a universal charge area for us when we get there? Because some of the buses, very interesting, you have to buy the charger that goes with the bus brand. So that isn't fully, all of those questions. And then is our current infrastructure, we did have a study done for the district, but there would need to be, believe it or not, additional upgrades, because you're going to be plugging in 120 buses at the same time, and you're going to need a charge that's going to be able to sustain that. So we have a question.
Just a couple other observations. What you mentioned there about the batteries with the fire, water's not what you want to put on them, that actually accelerates those. I don't know if there was a shipping container coming from Japan to the United States this last summer. It was loaded with 600 cars. They abandoned ship and let it go, and the whole thing burned down the ship, all the cars that went down to the bottom of the ocean, because they couldn't put it out with the existing fire. So what's that mean? We're going to need all new apparatuses for every single fire station in the town of Lysander, Van Buren, and everywhere else for the electric. That's one observation. Another observation, I don't have kids in the school district now, but I was the youngest of 12 kids And all of us went through that district, and I can tell you as a 9th grader in that high school, it was tough. You put 7th graders in that high school, that's not gonna work out. I just tell you that right now.
In high school, that'd be in the junior high school.
Oh, okay, because I thought you said high school. Another observation, geez, I've been around since dirt, and some of my favorite teachers in that school district, they were named John Arcaro and John Lindenmeyer, and those two people were very instrumental in creating the existing fields that we have they're named after those people for a reason. I can remember as a kid coming down and helping them do that, and many other kids. And a thing that I can remember from that era is, geez, all the kids, including those teachers' kids, went down and used those facilities on nights, on weekends. We went on that baseball field and we had a pitcher and a catcher and somebody who swung a bat. Or we went on that tennis court, which isn't there now, it's a parking lot, and we played tennis. We didn't have to sign in, we didn't have to pay money. We didn't have a park system at the time. A lot of kids did things like that I see we're losing those type of opportunities now. We're not allowed to go. I wouldn't do it, but if I was a 12, 15, 16-year-old kid, I would want to go on and pitch off that mound so that when I had the game 3 or 4 or 5 days later, I had my stuff going. You just can't do those things now. We're losing those things, and I think it's bad to have that happen.
So to speak a little bit about the use of the fields. The fields are available for use when there aren't school events currently in existence or schools in session, because we worry about people just utilizing the facilities when we have students there. So above and beyond, we have people using the track, using...
Would that change with the turf going on the baseball field? Would that change anything?
Yeah, nothing would change. It would be the same as it is right now. We have people using the all-weather field at Pelcher Arcaro Stadium on the weekends, as long as there's not a school-sponsored event. And that's why we have security cameras and things like that.
And I don't know if it still hasn't been there now. When they took the tennis courts out across from Durkee and they got parking down there now by the new football field, didn't they put some tennis courts up over it? Are they still there or no? They are still there.
There's actually more tennis courts there than there were.
Is that open for the public to come in? Fantastic. Thank you. Appreciate it.
No problem. So for us, really, this entire budget is all about student opportunities and success. These are examples of our students showcasing what they're able to get from the support of our school community. And so we just, Dr. Davis, there's our highlight. We talked a little bit about it. There's our overall percentage, tax levy, 0.85%. The vote's on May 16th, 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. at our district's operation building. That's the old transportation facility on the main campus. So we encourage you to come out and vote. And we certainly ask if there's any other questions you have.
I have a question on participation in school sports if you're not enrolled in the Beeville school system. As taxpayers in the community, I'm just wondering is it your policy or is it a state policy that if you're not enrolled in the school, you cannot participate?
That's a state regulation, so you have to be, it's out of the Commissioner of Education's office.
Do you agree with that?
Do I agree with it? No, I would like to see it opened up, but I don't have the authority to open it up.
I know you don't, but one of the things that, I used to be the Commissioner of County Parks, so I would always ask devil's advocate, I always push the envelope as far as it could be pushed. And it just strikes me as unfair that a kid that is not going to Beeville schools but is a resident here can't participate with their peers, basically, in school sports, because it has nothing to do with the education program per se. And I don't know if you ever get an opportunity to say, you know what, can we talk about that at the state level?
We have those, you have.
Yeah, and I would say just from Section 3 in New York State Public High School Athletic Association, there's restrictions because you think of it at the secondary level, when you're really talking about athletics, these private schools have their own athletic teams. And so there becomes issues with transfers and rules and regulations that limit that. So that's why the Commissioner of Education and the State Education Department has put those systems and
I
structures.
understand
in
the private
place.
schools, but what about homeschool kids?
Homeschool students, that's a different entity, and I know there has been talk from various legislators about opening things up for homeschool students. I know, having served on Section 3's committee, that the New York State Public High School Athletic Association and all the sections within the state have kind of pushed back against that for whatever reason. That's the NISBA's position, and I don't know if that'll change. I mean,
I think there's discussions all the time because due to COVID-19, those numbers have increased for homeschooling statewide. So, and the parents still want that enrichment for those students. So they're not home all the time just learning, but they also have those, still continue with those connections. You know, the extracurricular is so important to students' social and emotional growth. So I think those conversations are happening, and they're happening even more now after COVID-19.
That's very,
this is our website, www.beeville.org. If you go to the website, you will see our budget newsletter Hive, which will be arriving in the mail soon. We have a video, a short video. You spent an hour with us, or close to an hour. This is about 7 minutes. So if you watch that, you'll get the quick version of our budget. And then we have a link here for information about the various projects, videos. So we have a longer video about the entire capital project, and then we have small vignettes for each of the areas. So this is a vignette regarding the athletic field on the main campus, our science classrooms, and we're proud of the fact that our students helped put these videos together. They did the recording, they are interviewed along with our teaching staff and administration. It really is a team effort, and we're hopeful that the community will be favorable and continue on the vote on May 16th.
So you're going to get the newsletter, and there'll be QR codes in the newsletter. Just put your cell phone over the QR code, and it'll bring you back to the videos so that you can connect to that.
I just had one question about the possible parking lot renovations at the high school. Now, adding a parking lot over on the side of the school, where would the secondary access, would that come out to Oswego Street?
So,
or how would that, it's hard to see.
It's conceptual in nature. So we know that there's going to be some additional drop-off zone in parking. There is represented on this graphic, there is a two-way drive here, but that doesn't mean that will be reality when all is said and done. We have had conversations with law enforcement. Our landscape architects are having conversation with the Department of Transportation, DOT. It's again, this is conceptual. We've talked to a few of the homeowners that are here. They certainly express a little bit of concern. So there's ongoing dialogue about what the eventual, the final product will look like. This is conceptual, and we know that nothing is ever perfect. And we've had conversations since this went out that there could be additional options available. And so once we have a successful project vote, the next steps are a lot of work, and involves these people here that live here, other community members, the architects, and what the final design looks like. And that takes time. We don't want to do all that work now, because if we do, we're paying for something that we don't know will get approved by the school community. So this is tentative, whether there's two-way. We know that there will be a student drop-off, and there will be some additional parking. The final look is to be determined.
One of the things that we're trying to do at our schools is to separate out the parent and the bus traffic for safety reasons. If you think about any schools, they were not built to handle the amount of parent traffic that we have now. And we know that's something that's always going to occur at this point going forward. So we're working on Reynolds having an area where we can separate out our buses that we hope to have done this summer. McNamara, we're working on that same process. Palmer can already kind of do it the way they're laid out to start with. And the high school, obviously, if you're trying to get into our campus in the morning, it's a struggle to get in off the village streets. So that's part of where the conversation started. and to keep that separation again, which we don't have right now. But what that design phase looks like, as I mentioned earlier, we're still in the design phase for Derby, and that was voted on a year ago. So it's a process.
In the PDF, the presentation you gave us, there's a link on
Yes.
the main page.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
I do want to thank everyone for allowing us to be here tonight. Oh, we have a question.
Two questions.
Yes.
So the second entrance for Ray, where would that exactly be?
So that is, you
Off
got a
from,
picture of that?
off from 48. So if you look at, 48 is right here going south
Yeah.
from Maple Road. There's actually, just after the park, the entrance to the park,
Okay.
there's the auto repair shop.
Yep.
There's a home that's
blue-green
condemned.
house.
We're purchasing that, and it would be in the back of the building.
Okay, excellent. Second question is there any discussion about the tax break for the firefighters and ambulance workers with the board and yourselves?
So I'm going to go back a little bit. So there was discussion in this district back a few years ago in regards to the veterans exemption. One of the things that's very frustrating to us as a school district is those are kind of what we call unfunded mandates, because what they do is they take the tax levy from one person and shift it to the rest of the tax base. So we have, we do review it periodically, we look at the data, we present that to the Board of Education and have a discussion about it. I know this spring or last fall it was, that there was a very quick turnaround time in regards to something that came out that very few people had the length of time to really look at it and vet it.
Yeah.
That's probably
it
what
came out right after the first of the year. I believe the town of Lysander, you guys approved it?
Yes.
We did. Town of Van Buren's approved it. Northwest Fire District's approved it.
Onondaga County.
Yeah, Onondaga County. And we know that the school districts are all reluctant to do it. I guess I would just really ask that you really reconsider to do police firefighters in a community like this. You're talking a huge increase in taxes on the taxpayers as opposed to a minimal pennies on the dollar increase on the taxpayer for this benefit for volunteer firefighters and ambulance workers.
We certainly will bring that back to our board and share your thoughts and.
Can I make a comment on that?
Conversation with the board, if we could, just to go over all the details with it. I mean, we're more than welcome to do that.
And I was just going to ask, too, other people that have reached out to me, feel free to give my office a call, because then we can reach out to the county, we can get the data, so we can present the objective information.
I actually have it for you.
Oh,
Excellent.
The amount, the total cost, and like I said, it would be spread out to all the taxpayers. Doesn't increase your budget.
No.
The total cost for the current firefighters in the school district is $18,500. That's 0.00026%. So I did it on mine. If my school bill was to increase by 0.00026%, it was going to increase my my school tax bill by $1.50. So my house is assessed at $260,000. That's probably somewhere in the middle of everybody else. But even people on the lower income level, you're talking, if they had a $100,000 house, you're looking at maybe 75 cents total. So this is not a huge cost or burden to the residents. And really, the big money for the big savings, not big money, because it isn't, the big savings for the firefighters and we're having a hard time recruiting. We have a recruitment event here at the town this Saturday. All fire departments across the state are having a very difficult time. Like the firefighter in our crowd just said, I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name, sir.
Robert Kelly.
Okay. And if we were to have, and I checked, it would cost about $1 million to have paid firefighters, somewhere around that. $1 million to the taxpayers. Well, that's a lot more than $18,500. And that 18,500 will go a long way in recruiting, even if it were to be doubled. And they'd love it if they got double the amount of people. It still only would be $3 for me, and someone with a $100,000 house about $1.10. That goes a long way. That's a big savings, because if they have to, and they could, the fire districts could be mandated at some point putting in paid fire personnel. It's going to cost a lot more than that. But they certainly need the school district's assistance with this. And what I'd like to do, and I was talking to some of the commissioners, is come in and put that out to the school board. So I'm going to call them and ask them if we could come in and just lay that out, because for the taxpayers, I think it makes sense. It makes a lot of sense to them.
We do want to thank you for your service, too. So, I mean,
The other thing to kind of look at is not every firefighter is going to get this benefit. It's only people that own houses in the district. So if we have someone who's a volunteer, but they live in an apartment building, they're not getting the credit. So, I mean, we have, 10 fire departments, I believe, if I remember correctly, that cover the Ballsville School District. They have kids in there. You're not talking 300 people, maybe. And like Mr. Wick said, it's very minimal.
And the people that would qualify for that right now, like you said, a lot of them, if they don't own a house, they're going to take the state, deduction, which would be $200. So I would imagine, and this really goes for some of the younger people. That's who the fire personnel and or the fire departments and the ambulance are trying to recruit out, the younger people. Those people, as they buy houses, I remember me, I had to borrow $600 from my buddy just to close on my house. So, they're on a very limited budget. This is where it goes to help them out. And, if they lose all of that, then we're going to have to go to a full, or at somewhat of a full-time personnel, and that's going to cost everybody a lot more. So I think it would be, I don't think you'd get pushback from the community if the school district was to do that.
Well, I think the discussions, having these discussions are very good in regards to being able to present it, in a formal discussion, in regards to some of the points that you made as well. So I'm going to make sure you have my name before I leave.
Thank you.
So you can follow up with me in the future so that we can get that topic back on track. Absolutely. You're welcome.
any other questions? I want to thank you again.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure. Did you want to borrow the boards and we can pick them up at another time?
We can leave the board for you.
Yeah, you can leave them here, and then
And if
I'll
you want to
leave.
play the video?
I do, I can't wait, but I think I'll go home.
Just a trailer session where we now go out and present.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll drop them off.
Actually,
It's nice meeting you.
if you want people going,
You know what I'll do? I'll put them on in the front. I'll put them in the front. And, so everybody can see.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for having us. It was great. Thank
Okay, we're,
you. Bye. Have fun.
yeah, we're going to call the work session closed, and we're going to take a 5-minute recess before we start our general meeting. Okay, so we call the meeting to order. Start with the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So if everybody's had an opportunity to review the minutes, may I get a motion to adopt the minutes as distributed?
I'll move it. I will second that.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
I abstain.
Oh, one abstention. I'm sorry. I forgot you weren't here last time. Good. We're going to open up the public hearing on it's 6:42 on the solar farm moratorium. May I have a motion to open up the public hearing?
I'll move that.
I'll second it.
Okay. Now that the public hearing is open, is there anyone wishing to speak for or against the solar farm moratorium?
We don't have a microphone tonight. It's not working.
We do, but okay.
Try my best. Fred Birch, Plainville Road. I like green energy. I'm for it. I'm not against it. But I also like the heritage and integrity of the town I've grown up and known our whole life. And so if we can have our cake and eat it too, that's what we're looking at you for. I had a lengthy conversation with our planning board chairman a couple of weeks ago, and he's on board with the thoughts that I have. We don't want these things reflecting in our eyes as we're going down the road. So if we can burn that and we can put fir trees up so that we don't have to see that, and people who invest in their homes, like the pool guys there on Church Road, don't have to look at that every day when they come out. That's all I think that we're asking for. It's certainly not like huge housing developments where it would be an addition traffic burden. I don't think it's as good as companies coming in and providing jobs for the community and stuff like that, but it's utilizing the land. One thing I'd like to see is an incentive. The farm owners are the big landowners, an incentive for them. You can't tell somebody what they can do with their property for the most part and who they want to sell it to. But, you know, I grew up in a place, and like I told you a few meetings ago, the kids referred to this as Cowtown. And I like that now. And if we can kind of hold on to that, but as people get older, some of their kids, they're not vested in the same business as they do. They don't want to farm, but thankful we got people like Mr. Allen who comes in and rents other properties and keeps that farming industry going, and I'd like to see that. I think we can give an incentive to our big landowners to where if we want to sell off and put solar farms and stuff like that in, then maybe we can do that with the least tillable part of the land. Let's preserve the best farming land if at all possible. Let's have an incentive for that, so that if somebody else comes along who has the ability to farm and wants to farm can do that. And that's what I'd like to see for our town. With each project you have good and bad, and that's your job. You guys got to weigh that. But I'd like to hold on to a little bit of that heritage of what we grew up with, and certainly not have our town turn into, you know, like we see in Clay with just no trees and no grass and just, and so that's what I have to say about it. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Anyone else or against? Okay, we did receive we sent the moratorium to county planning to review, and they took no position on this. So according to our attorney, we can move forward with a vote tonight. Anybody else wishing to speak?
I would just like to point out, Mr. Supervisor, that for any confusion, this law applies to any applications that are, if we approve it tonight, that occur after tonight, after filing with the Secretary of State, which would be tomorrow. So anything that's before our planning board up till now is exempt from the moratorium. They can continue their process.
Anybody that put in an application so far?
Right.
Yeah.
This would also, well, with the existing solar farm, this would also prohibit them from building out any further.
Right.
Until we come up with a.
Right, they'd have to go into the
I
plan.
just want to put that out there, yeah.
Okay. Any further comments? Okay. May I have a motion to close the public hearing at 7:46, or 6:46?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. So now, we're going to make a motion to open a public hearing to review, a review of the Mills Road map plan and report.
I'll second it.
All in favor? Okay. So, is there anyone wishing to speak for or against the Mills Road map plan and report? Maybe after Mr. Yeager is through.
Just a couple updates. We had the village map plan and report and had to make some changes at the request of the village. I don't know if anybody recalls, previously there's a hydrant, existing hydrant here at the intersection of River Bend and Route 370. The village uses that hydrant for flushing of the wells, and there's concern that when they're flushing wells and using that hydrant, there wouldn't be adequate fire flow and pressures for Mills Road. They asked us to come back to the hydrant at the driveway of the Doan well. So it adds about 400 feet of water main to the project, which affects the cost. So cost has gone up to $628,700 as an estimate as of today, which includes the additional 400 feet of water main. And that brings the estimated first year cost to $1,528.67. We are seeing prices drop on water main. I was just looking at a DOT bid today that was $80 a foot. I'm using $90 a foot right now just because I'd rather be conservative and I'd rather give you a high number than a low number. And when we come in lower, it's all the better. So that's essentially where we stand with it right now. Now, hand it over to anybody else who wants to comment.
Now, you said that was $1,528.67 for the first year. Is that the first year only, or is that every year after that for the 30 years?
Well, depending on what the water rates do with the village, that's based on the current water
Okay, so
usage.
that's going to be an annual cost?
Yes.
For the rest. Okay.
Unless more build out, right?
More build out, I mean, quite honestly, that's a worst case scenario. That still includes the 20% contingency. That still includes 20% for legal engineering and survey, which is a high number. And like I said, we're starting to see water main costs go down right now, back to pre-pandemic levels. So I'd rather be conservative and give you a high number than give you a low number and have to come back for more. So that's where we're at.
So initially, why the difference? Initially, when Mr. Yeager and I had a conversation, he thought that we had an arrangement with, an agreement with the village, and after speaking with them further, there was a misunderstanding somewhere, so we have additional work to do on that to ensure that the village is willing to allow us to tap in and perform that district. So what we have to do is Mr. Yeager and Mr. Rosigno are going to formulate a letter, send it to the village board, and they're going to review it with their committee as well as their village board. But right now, I think that we have it worked out with the
Water superintendent.
Water superintendent.
Yep.
That went well today?
Yeah, as long as we connect at
That's it, that connection?
At the driveway to the Doan well, so
Okay.
about 400 feet further east.
Okay. So, sure, I know.
John Grandinetti, 8106 Mills Landing. And these costs, one of the things not noted here is that that includes usage, doesn't include the debt payment.
No, that includes debt payment. That's the debt.
I'm sorry. It includes debt payment and it includes water usage. So if you're not going to tie into the system,
Then it goes down.
your cost goes down. It's also based on a 5% interest rate on the bond. Now in here, there's an understanding that the controller needs to review this because the cost is getting out of control, which is understood. And it'd be great if they shot it down. that opens us up to a zero interest possible bond through the Environmental Conservation Fund.
Well, no. If they shoot, what's the agency that has to review it?
No, so what you would do is you would, if it gets shot down by Environmental Facilities Corporation, if the state audit and comptroller shoots it down,
Yeah.
we can go back to EFC and ask for additional assistance, apply for additional assistance through the Consolidated Funding Application Program for a subsidized loan rate, which would make it a significant difference in the cost.
Significant difference.
But that's not, that's not guaranteed.
No.
I realize that's not guaranteed, but nothing we're doing at this point is guaranteed. We're only taking baby steps forward, and it's constantly in flux, and this is certainly in the realms of possibility.
Well, I think we have it buttoned up now, right, Mr. Yeager? I mean, as far as, we have it buttoned up now, as far as all the steps we have to take once the village takes a look at it, and if they approve it, we're good to move forward. We got everything we need to move forward.
Yes.
So there's really no more steps. We just need to have them review it and to sign off on the plan. And we reviewed it with them today. Mr. Yeager did, and I did also.
Right.
And so I had conversations with Mr. McCullough and the mayor, and said, this is what we're going to do. Is everybody good with this? And they didn't have any problems with it. So unless there's people on their village board that have a problem with us tapping into that, this should move forward. As soon as we're going to keep the public hearing open, and then until we get a determination from the village as far as what they're willing or not willing to do. And then once we get that, then we'll be moving forward.
Right, and so then ultimately, potentially, it's a very conservative quote, being a high quote. And there's contingency numbers in there, and ultimately, that bond could be lower than that once construction's completed, as prices have come down for product and all this other stuff. But potentially, that could be a lower number.
Certainly, but the way interest rates are going and the way the Federal Reserve is tapping in, I mean, they're even talking about another
rate.
So if they have another rate hike, then the bond costs go up.
Right.
Now, I don't know how, I can't tell you how much, but they would go up.
Right, and there's no argument. There's certainly a point where this number's going to reach, where even those that are interested in having the service are going to say, I can't do that. And I get that. So, but we are still months away from a neighborhood vote.
Yeah, I think once we get through the public hearing, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Zigno, we have 90 days after that, we have to have the vote.
Between 90 and 120 is when the vote would take place.
Oh, it has to be between 90 and 120, so yeah. So there's a lot of time moving forward, and that'll give anybody that's out of town time to get back, because we want to make sure that everybody's represented.
Absolutely.
That's one of the things,
Absolutely.
and so I don't think, I'd rather move a little slower to ensure that we have the opportunity for people to, get their vote in. We don't want to, have anybody not pass by one vote and two people aren't there.
Right, absolutely.
Thank you. Okay. Anyone else want to speak on this issue tonight?
Yeah, I'd still like to answer. My name is Doug Chattel. I live at 8051 Mills Road. I still like to know how you're getting around New York State law with all this. I brought it to his attention the last time we had a meeting down here. He just says, oh, it's this number here. You guys made it mandatory.
Hold on a second. I don't know exactly what you're talking about. What New York State law and what are you talking about?
That if any improvements are made, the town takes it over. Don't matter if it's a gas line, water line, a sidewalk, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, he's trying to say it's because of the width of the road. You guys made it mandatory back 80 years ago. You had to have a 50-foot right of way.
What are you talking about?
About this water going in on this road.
Okay. All we need is an easement. We can put the water down there.
Yeah, but you gotta follow New York State law. And that requires you guys to take over the road.
I have.
Doesn't require us to take over the road.
What studies have been done saying the road ain't up to the measurement in blanks or whatever you're saying?
Road's got nothing to do with the water line.
Who's got to do with the water line? It comes out of all the taxpayers.
I can't explain it.
Actually, that water line doesn't come out
I
of all
mean,
the
it's not
taxpayers.
a document made up by New York State.
Well, hold on.
It means nothing.
Hold on a second. That water line isn't paid by all the taxpayers. That's actually paid by the people in the district, which will be the people on Mills Road.
Okay.
That came to us, that asked us to do this. We didn't just come
So
up
if
with
we
it.
can get the water line, that means we can get our blacktop too.
No, that's not.
Because the road is shot.
That isn't correct. No.
I'd like to have it proven to be done. I want to see some type of study on it or something that states from New York State that we don't have to follow the rules.
Okay, well,
I mean, we all pay taxes in New York State. Now, if they're government, or they're funding the money for it, we should be following their rules. Cut and
I
dry.
have to defer to our attorney, and he said we don't have to do it, so that's all I can tell you about that.
Where's what's saying that you don't have to do it?
Well, if you...
And the other, you guys sitting there saying, well, we ain't gonna do it.
Well, if you can come up with something that says we have to do it...
I did. I showed it to him the last time we were here in the meeting. I showed it to you. You said no. Show it to him.
I didn't say no because I wouldn't give you an answer on that because I don't know.
He showed it to me, and it's not what he says it is. That's all I can tell you. I mean, I can't...
So in other words, falsified document from New York State.
I don't know how to respond.
Well, I shouldn't have to be the one looking into it.
I don't know.
You guys are trying to help these people get water. You guys should be doing the study on it and finding out what the rules are. It shouldn't be up to me. Like I said, I'm a graduated idiot from Beeville. I got a high school diploma, I can't read and write, but yet I know there's a document out there. Because I already showed it to them.
But we're talking about the water district.
Yeah, water, and water contains of any improvements, the town takes it over.
We're talking about the water lines. So if you want to have another discussion about the...
It is all about the water line.
The private road.
Because you're putting in water, gas, or whatever, it pertains to them all.
Well, that's another discussion. So, we're here to talk about the water line specifically.
So I'm better off just getting a lawyer and finding more out than what you people are going to tell me.
If you feel you have to do that, then I would do that. If you feel you have to do it, then sure.
Well, I just feel it's pretty wrong that you guys are sitting there saying that you're going to do something, but yet you don't even know all the rules or regulations on what you're going to do.
We didn't say we didn't know the rules. You're saying we don't know the rules. We have an attorney here that's been doing that for probably 50 years.
Then why didn't he answer the question I just asked?
Because he did answer the question, and he said that we don't have to do it. So now,
why?
If you...
I pay taxes in New York State just like everybody else.
I understand that, and we all...
And the town is supposed to follow New York State law.
And we are.
Well, then where's the law saying that you guys don't have to follow it? If you make any improvements by putting a water line in there, then you guys take it over.
All right, well...
That means you come down, blacktop it, you come in, you plow it.
We're not going to blacktop.
We're going to pay taxes.
I can tell you right now, it's not going to be blacktop. I mean, I don't,
No, we're going to pay for it if the water line breaks, we have to repair the road.
Okay.
That's not fair.
Well, we're in an argument, and you don't want to accept our answer or attorney's answer, so I don't know where to go.
Well, you're not giving me a straight answer.
Because I don't know how to answer your question. I gave you the best answer I could. That's the only answer I have.
I mean, if your argument's about the water line breaking on your road.
No, he's talking about blacktop.
Well, no, he just said if the water line broke in the road. Wouldn't that be paid by the water district?
The water district would be responsible for repairing the road.
So the entire water district would pay for the repair of the road, bringing it to the state that it's in.
Well, how come in the first meeting you were saying the opposite, that we were responsible for paying for the roads being fixed that washed up?
You are, because you're in the water district.
Right.
Anyone who's in that water district pays for it. I'm not in your water district, I don't pay for anything. I don't pay for your water line, I don't pay for the improvement of that road. If there's a main break, you guys pay for it, not me. you guys.
So
whoever's
who
in that
comes up with the money? Out of our pocket, or they just throw it in our tax?
It gets assessed to the water district fees that everybody would pay if the water district.
Everyone that would pay in that water district.
So if it's a $10,000 thing and there's 10 houses, everybody would end up paying into the $10,000. Whether the town chose to bond for it, for a repair, or if there was money in the special improvement district to pay for it, that would be determined at the time the issue arises. And the district would be notified.
Well, there's a limit on the bonds. I don't think you could bond for $10,000.
Well, you can do bands or bonds. I was just giving an example so you could understand how the payment would be made.
So what kind of insurance you gotta have to cover your house if your house gets washed out because the road washed out and washed into the river?
I would imagine that would be on your own homeowner's insurance, and they'd probably sue the town at that point.
Yeah.
But I think you got a better chance of the river coming up and taking your house out.
I don't think so. I'm plenty high enough down there. You guys will be all drowning down here in Beeville first. The bridge will be out first.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Fred Birch, Plainville Road. Trying to gather my thoughts here. So I'm appreciative of this process, even though I'm not in the district. The first meetings I attended when you were talking about the proposal and had the public discussion and the vote afterwards, all I could think in my head was unfunded mandate, unfunded mandate, unfunded mandate. And I don't like those words, especially from...
Well, an unfunded mandate is something that's forced on you from whatever government. We're not forcing anything on anybody. The residents down on Mills Road could vote this down. Hold on a second. The residents down there came to the town board, which forced us into having to do something.
Right.
So we're not, it's not an unfunded mandate.
Right.
Not the proper term.
So it's kind of like, so it's in between there. A few people were concerned with water, and that's what people should do, if they're concerned.
Well,
and they have
75% of the residents down there are concerned about it.
The part about it that I wasn't too appreciative of is to where the vote then went 5-0 from the board to go ahead with the project without the public referendum. And in that instance, when you, right there at that point, then it pretty much becomes what we were talking about, unfunded mandate, for the rest of the people who didn't approach. But now, by having this process, the way we're doing it now in the public referendum, we're going from a republic, a representative republic, to a democracy for that district, for that day. These people will decide whether that's good for them or not, and that's fantastic.
Well, 75% of them decided that they wanted it. They're the ones that gave us, it wasn't like, we didn't go look at, we didn't.
I understand.
75% are at the top of the road.
Hold on a second, you're out of order. Now, the 75% of the population that was down there came to us with this petition. So it wasn't, we didn't go knocking on their door saying, hey, we're gonna put water down here. That would be an unfunded mandate.
I know
we
you
said,
did.
okay, if you want water, we'll move forward.
No, and I did. I just think that being such a small district, it's not like a town-wide vote. Being such a small district, I'm appreciative that this board went through with deciding on the public referendum to allow these people who own their property to choose their future. I think with a small district, with something expensive like this for some of these people, I just think that that's the proper direction to take. I was around 10 years ago for the Lamson Road Water Project, and quite a few people came forward that were or interested in getting back, but quite a few people were against it as well. But this process allows people to come out and air their grievances and thoughts, and maybe throw something out there that somebody wasn't aware of because they're specialized in their area. I just think it's fantastic. And I just wanted to say, I think I had a little tiny part in this, and it makes me feel good that these people get a chance to vote individually. And I know you didn't go knocking, and I'm not saying that. I know you didn't. But I just think the district is so small, and it's so important to them, that I'm appreciative that they get the opportunity to make the decision, to homeowners. And I want to thank this board for going in that direction. Thank you for your time.
Is there anybody else?
You're saying 75?
Hold on a second.
Go ahead.
You have an individual
I want to
pick.
say,
Oh, come on.
Harvey Frederick, I live on Mills Road,
Okay.
and I heard a number, 75%. I've looked down the list of properties that have got names on it. I think I would like to say that it's not 75%. And that's all I got to say about that. I would like to see it verified.
Well, we're going to be going forward with a vote
I know,
anyway, so.
I just want that on the record, that's all.
Okay.
If 75% of these people want the water, why don't it stop right with the first 75%? You know, the rest of us down at the other end don't need it. We all got good water.
I think.
And we need our.
We don't need water to go all the way down through a dead-end road.
I think you can answer that, Mr. Yeager.
There are people on Biggs Grove that indicated they wanted water.
It's what?
There's people on Biggs Grove that indicated they wanted water.
Well, then they should go down Biggs Grove. Our road's a dead-end road. It does not connect to Biggs Grove. All you gotta do is drive down there, you see a dead-end sign.
Yep.
You can't get there from here. That's Reeves country.
Can you weigh into that, Mr. Rimzigan?
We're not doing roads, we're doing a water line.
Well, the water line's gotta go through a dead end to get to the other road, to make it got water.
Anyone else? Okay, what we're going to do right now then at 7:09, we're going to adjourn the public hearing, and it'll be advertised when we're going to, I don't know if it's going to be the next meeting. Hopefully we can get it done by the next meeting. If not, it'll be the meeting afterwards, but it'll be on the agenda for sure. So,
Do you need a vote to adjourn?
no.
I mean, I'm supporting, I
Yes, you do.
support that.
What?
You need a vote to adjourn.
Yeah, you can adjourn.
Oh, I thought we didn't.
You can adjourn it.
Oh,
You need a
okay.
vote to adjourn.
All right.
I'll make a motion to adjourn the public hearing temporarily.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay.
I have a
Meeting is
question.
adjourned.
I have a question. So I don't have to advertise for the next public hearing on the
No,
same map
that's- we
plan and
already talked
report?
about that. No.
Because we're adjourning,
Website.
just the website? Okay.
Just keep it on the agenda.
Stays on
Just
the-
keep it on the agenda, okay,
Table.
It's like it's tabled, basically.
okay. I just want to make sure.
Yeah, that's a good question. What about motion B? That's a separate issue.
Well, actually, you can accept the plan report.
Yeah, that's, okay. All right.
Yeah, your whole idea of keeping the public hearing open is to finish up with the village and then the timeline for the vote doesn't start.
Okay. Moving on to citizens' comments. Are there any citizens this evening that would like to speak regarding agenda items? No? Okay. Town board comments. Start with you tonight, Mr. Moore. Seems You might have a lot to say. You weren't here last time.
I have a lot to say. It's good to see everybody come out. It's good to see people in these chairs, so thank you very much for doing that. I think this time the weather's finally turning for sure. Spring weather. I don't know if we're going to get any snow by Mother's Day, but we'll bear it. Thank you for watching. Thanks for coming out, and I'll stick to the agenda.
I was very appreciative of the Beeville School Board here at the work session. If you weren't here to watch or here to listen to what they had to say, that'll be on our website, I think, so you can hear it. I learned a few things about the school budget that I didn't know, so that was a good thing. And I'm glad spring's here too. That's all I have.
So I want to thank everyone for coming out. It's nice to see some new faces here in the crowd, so appreciate you guys coming out, spending your day with us. But other than that, I'll stick to the agenda.
I'd like to thank everybody for coming out. Appreciate the school district giving a presentation on the budget. And I have just reminded everybody we are doing the Recruit New York. I'm sure the supervisor and the town clerk, they've had a lot more to do with it than me. Recruit New York, Saturday, 10 to 2 here at Town Hall. They're going to bring some trucks. I was at the public safety meeting on Tuesday. A couple departments are bringing some trucks over. They're going to have some food trucks. So come on out, see if there's any way you can help out any of your local fire departments. Come in, tell them where you live, and we'll point you to the right district to talk to. Bring the kids. I think Plainville might be setting up a little hose down area for kids to practice.
We're gonna have a bunch of stuff.
So there's going to be, hopefully the weather's going to hold up for us. And that is it.
Also, just a reminder, I want to make sure people know that even though we put a moratorium on assessments, if you put a pool in, if you did an addition, anything like that, your house could and probably would be reassessed. So if you think that your assessment is too high regarding that, then now's the time to call the assessor's office and set up a meeting with her. Additionally, if last year, if you had a problem with your assessments, now this year would be a good year to readdress that with the assessor, because we're anticipating a much slower time and a lot fewer people that are going to be grieving their assessments. And I know she's taking appointments now. You can get the paperwork and call the assessor's office tomorrow and make your appointment. Department head reports. Mr. Rivazigno. Mr. Merrill.
Unless you wanted me to mention about the trooper barracks, but
why don't we talk about that? Yeah.
So just to, I guess more or less just put the bug in of the board members' ears is that I spoke with Sergeant Gilfish of the trooper barracks, which is a building of ours. They have been advised by their directors with the state police where they do an inspection of their facility, and they have concerns over their sidewalk and entrance, which is on their entrance side of their building. So it's like really it's at the back side of the building. There's a sidewalk the full length of their parking lot. It's sidewalk improvement, but again, it's all one. And it's severely deteriorated at like every other expansion joint. And so I met with a vendor to get an initial quote, which should arrive next week. And we'll know more about that, but just kind of let everybody know there's some repairs over there on their entryway that's going to need to be done.
Is this an emergency repair, or is it just, I mean, it's usable?
It's usable, yeah.
When's their lease up?
Off the top of my head.
Yeah, we'll have to look at their lease, maybe
But,
pick it up a little
I mean,
bit
if-
to cover the expense.
We'll have to take a look at it, I think. Didn't the state come down and tell them that they had to do something with it?
Yes.
Because they had a lot of traffic in and out. There could be disabled people, elderly people going in there. So if it's in need of repair, we probably should move on that.
I just didn't know if we needed quotes or, that's what I
Well,
was. So off state
what he's telling me about,
If it was something we moved forward with, we would put an RFP out for it.
Okay.
Bids on it, yes.
Okay.
is that it?
I actually had a question for the clerks, because we've got it, you know, we're hiring 3 or 4 people on the agenda tonight. What, I see that we've changed the park, it used to be park attendants and now they're park aides.
Park attendant was never a civil service title for one, so
Okay.
the correct thing to do was to put them into civil service title.
And we did that last year.
Yes.
So park aides, because we're combining labor work with the park aides. From
Yes.
what we used to
Yes.
previously have people in
Yes.
positions doing.
That is correct.
Well, not necessarily. We're just expanding the work that the park aid are going to be able to do, are allowed to do. And that was because of the current laborers at the parks. They came to Mr. Merrill and said, you know, we don't have time to do X, Y, and Z, and we don't like doing this stuff, so he came.
They want to help with the main of the strength. But, I mean, there's other work that summer aides can be doing to assist the current park laborers over there.
Right. And I'm just going back to, I believe it was at budget time or before, we had a part-time laborer that left the position. And I believe I asked you, do we need a laborer? I was told no. Correct me if I'm wrong.
We don't need a laborer.
But now we've added labor jobs to what the attendants and aides used to do.
Titles. Well,
So I just feel I was misled that we did need someone, person or persons to do those duties. When I looked through a budget, I asked you as a department head, do we need that position filled?
You asked we need a laborer, we didn't need a laborer.
Laborers have specific job responsibilities. This.
Right, but I was never, I'm just explaining, that this was never explained that we're changing job descriptions with people. And I see that we've gone through the union, and I hope that nothing's gonna happen with this. I just feel that, you know, I was told we didn't need a part-time laborer, but we're getting a part-time laborer in these aides.
We aren't getting a part-time laborer, we're getting park aides. Now, what happened was, there were multiple individuals that were in what they were currently called park attendants, which isn't a civil service position. So we're trying to when we see issues that need to be addressed, and that was one issue, we should put everybody into a civil service position. So that's what we did last year. So even though we're adding, this isn't an added position, these are park aides, which we had last year, right? Correct, Mr. Merrill?
Summer aides.
Summer aides. And all we're doing is giving them additional responsibilities, which we went through the union to ensure that they were good with that, they signed off on it, you have the letter, and so it's not an additional labor spot, it's summer aides taking the place of park attendants. The only thing we're getting out of it, where the park attendants couldn't do anything at all before other than what they just really monitored the park, now they're able to do some things that maybe the laborers couldn't have gotten to earlier or didn't want to do. And that's why we did that, to utilize those positions more efficiently than they were utilized in the past.
Is this a testable position then if it's civil service?
What's that?
Are they going to test for it?
Not all civil service titles are testable.
Right.
No, my other question was when I looked
No, these are not testable titles.
My other question was when I looked at the seasonal employment ads you put up, one said summer aid parks and one said summer aid recreation. There were a little bit different duties.
So there's still a summer aid title. So as far as what they do, whether their end focus would be park, which would be more the physical park aspect, or recreation aspect. they're still the same title, they can still do the same thing. It's just a matter of what internally they're going to do.
So when you hire a summer aide, they could either be the parks or the recreation aide that you put out, and it doesn't matter?
Correct.
Okay. All right, that's all I wanted. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Sweetak.
Yes, I would like to make a public plea for everyone to look out for the men and women that are on the road in orange and Dago colors. This is Syracuse, it's time for barrels and cones and signs and detours. With that, the highway department starting Monday goes to 410s. That means that they're staffed Monday through Thursday for 10 hours. That does not mean that we cannot be reached on Friday. We will be available by phone. Calls will be returned as soon as we can get to them. Emails likewise. And then I would also like to just point out one more thing. Board, as you look over the pavement management plan, I try to get every street that you live on. So if you're not on there, it's going to be next year. All right. But
I hope you said that in your show.
that's all that.
How about the parking signs on Hayes Road?
The posts and the hardware, so there's a 3-foot post, there's a hardware kit, and then there's an 8-foot post. Those are all in. The signs themselves, they're 12 by 18, I mean, red and white, just like all no parking signs. That order went to Clay Sign. It's actually the Clay DPW makes the signs right in-house. And that was last Tuesday, Art told me that he was going to get on them. So I've never dealt with them. I can't tell you how fast or how slow it's going to be, but it's only 30 signs, so I'm hoping it's not going to be too long.
And the highway department, Mr. Sweetak assigned a couple of people to help with the trash pickup on Brundage Road. The plant manager and a number of employees were out there today cleaning up along Brundage Road. Normally I participate, I just couldn't because I was too busy today with this business. But I got a couple calls about that, and they cleaned up a majority of that road. There's still a little area left, and I'm going to try and facilitate that at some portion and clean that up. But Budweiser is doing everything they can. Their people, nobody was out there helping them this year, and other than their employees, other than the highway, and I want to thank Mr. Sweetak and his personnel. But hopefully we can get more volunteers in the future to help clean that area. But Budweiser has gone a long way since I've been here. They now have additional scales in their plant that gets the trucks in there more quickly. They also had contracted to have another staging area for the trucks with dumpsters, but they can't prevent people from driving down the road and throwing things out. Now, a majority of the stuff that's out there now is most likely from truckers, but I saw, air conditioners and other things, so that's not truckers, that's other people. But they have gone a long way. They have been working with us to keep that area clean, and I'm going to be talking, and we're looking into other remedies that could even further keep the trash and some of the issues that are on their road down. So we're going to continue to work on that. Okay. Nothing, Mr. Yeager? Ms. Falcone?
So the free prom dress event is Sunday, 10 to 2 here in Town Hall. I just wanted to thank everyone who dropped off dresses for the prom and the ball.
Why don't you explain that again, just in case?
The whole thing? Okay.
Well, you can consolidate.
I can consolidate.
Because you got makeup now.
I got a lot of makeup.
That's right.
So I'd like to thank Wegmans, Great Northern, for dropping off 3 giant bins of makeup, all kinds of makeup, for free for the dress event. These dresses are for students who need a dress for the prom or ball for whatever reason. They can come in and get a dress for free, no charge. I have shoes and jewelry and bags and all kinds of stuff as well for the kids.
And if you put a letter together next time for Wegmans, you know, and we'll have everybody on the board sign it.
Oh, that would be
Along with
nice.
you, and we'll send that.
Okay. So that's Sunday, 10 to 2, here in Town Hall in the front foyer area. And then it's also on the Facebook page, Prom to Ball, Dresses for All. What else was I going to talk about? Oh, so the RFPs went out for Chase Cemetery mowing, and we should hear back by May 3rd from everybody. And it's also on the website.
All right. That it?
Yeah, any questions?
I just want to recognize Ms. Falcone here, because what people don't realize, I mean, yeah, she's an elected official, but she does a lot of things that she doesn't have to do, that are way outside the scope of her job. I mean, this event that's coming up Saturday, she had a large part in putting that together. This other thing for the young ladies that may need dresses, she had everything to do with that. So I think that she should be commended for doing some of these things. It's just shows what type of commitment she has to the community. So just wanted to recognize her.
Thank you for saying that. Thank you.
Great job, Dean. Okay, we'll move on to the regular agenda items. May I have a motion to adopt a local law under Article 29 to establish a moratorium on solar farms in the town of Lysander?
I will move that.
I'll second it.
We have citizens' comments tonight?
Yeah, you skipped them. Yeah.
What? I didn't hear citizens.
He asked twice. I did have them. I asked them twice. I looked around. Oh, well, I can't make you hear it, you know, but I did say.
I think you snuck them in.
No, I didn't. You looked right at you.
You went right to Tony at the board comment. You went right to Tony.
No.
I'm like, what are we doing?
Okay, I didn't, so we'll move on. You could check the video.
That's why I came here tonight.
Okay, I'm sorry. Well, you're here every week, so I'm sure we'll hear from you next week. Okay.
Same time.
So now, did I get a?
Yes, Bob and me, myself.
Okay. Any discussion?
I guess I would like to say that I think this is so much the right move to put a moratorium. These are things, I'll give you a compliment there, Fred. I think you echo the sentiments of a lot of people. This is something that we really need to look at and ask some really hard questions about how we're doing these things.
Anyone else? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carried. May I have a motion to accept the revised map plan and report for the proposed Mills Road Water District submitted by CHA Engineers?
I'll move it.
I will second that.
Any discussion?
If I may, Mr. Supervisor, could we add final revision date of 4/20/23 to the end of that resolution, just so there's not confusion on previously dated copies?
What was the date?
4/20/23.
4/20. Do you have that? Okay. Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carried. May I have a motion to accept the 2023 pavement management plan provided by the highway superintendent?
I'll move that.
I'll second it. Any discussion? Okay, Mr. Sweetak, I noticed that this is a tight budget right here. You came right down to the penny, which is okay. You know, I'm not making any comments.
It's not that strict.
But these are based on, was this based on, I know you just got the RFP, the bids. I mean, how did they look compared to what you anticipated them to look like?
They came in lower, actually.
Okay. So you should be good on this then.
Right.
I mean, it's not going to be, I mean, if they came in over, obviously, with a tight margin like this, you'd be really close. But
right. The only thing that could really change that, I mean, oil may go up, prices may go up, but especially Brundage Road is going to be taken down enough to where we're probably going to have to make some pretty sizable repairs with binder, and that just brings up the total a little bit. But other than that, yeah, we have plenty of.
So when you do Brundage Road, what are you going to do, one side at a time, or how's that going to work with them, with that being the entrance, or have you had any discussions with Anheuser-Busch?
No, I haven't talked with.
All right, we probably ought to call them and figure out, when you're going to do it, how long it's going to take, and then let's work with them, because there could be a disruption to their business there, and we don't want to do that.
Yeah, and we can always ship them out to the other end, but the Donagals usually.
Yeah, I don't know if that would work, because I don't know if they have the scales there. That's why I said,
Gotcha.
I think there needs to be a conversation with you and I and the plant manager and their logistics people to ensure that, we're not disrupting it, or disrupting it as little as possible.
I spoke with Kristen the other day, the person that you gave me, so I can always call her back and bring this up.
All right. Any further discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carried. May I have a motion to approve the lease agreement from Ed and Ed Business Technology for the postage machine located in the Lysander Town Hall?
I'll move it. I'll second it.
Any discussion?
Is it something we do all the time, Dean? I mean, is this
That's every 5 years.
every 5 years?
Yeah, and when we had a lease last time, we leased a used piece of equipment. This time, we're going to get a brand-new piece of equipment. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carried. May I have a motion to accept the bid from Northern Asphalt for hot mix paving projects for the town of Lysander in the amount of $883,922.40.
I'll move it. I'll second it.
Any discussion?
We're all set with that? Right?
Okay.
I just wanted to make sure.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carried. May I have a motion to appoint James Scruton to the part-time seasonal position of summer aide with a start date of Friday, April 21st, 2023, at an hourly rate of $14.20.
I'll move that.
I'll second it.
Any discussion?
Yeah, I'd like to say just one thing. Every year we hire summer help for parks, and every year we have discussion about titles, and it does get a little bit dicey trying to make sure we have the right title for the right position. And for me, I'm just really, it's nice to this year have a letter of understanding signed by the union representative in the town of Lysander to make sure that things go smoothly, because really all we're trying to do is get summer help and give some kids summer jobs. So that's all I have to say.
Any further discussion?
Yeah, I would add, just for the benefit of the folks that what's the difference between a park laborer and a summer aide? And I wasn't part of the discussion, but I fully support this because it makes sense to hire people. A laborer is a great title if you have 100% of park laborer work to do, or laborer work to do. What this position title will allow you to do is be much more expansive. It's a public position as well as a labor position, so it's got recreation built into it, which is the kind of people you want to hire for the summer that work in parks. So I support that.
Are these people going to be cleaning the bathrooms like they?
Yes, they do everything, Jeff.
Well, we don't have any park attendants at night right now, so that's why I asked.
That's why we're hiring these people. That's number one duty on that.
Number one duty.
No pun intended. Thank you for pointing that out.
You said that.
I did.
What Mr. Merrill is doing is making use of all the employees as making them useful for the full amount of time that they're there as opposed to now. And by expanding some of these responsibilities, we're just getting more for our dollar from the individuals, and it helps keep the park in better maintenance by having them being able to do that. So, and the other thing he's been doing is to make sure that these titles that have been there for however amount of time before we've been here, he's cleaning that up, and we are cleaning those up so that everybody fits in the proper categories that they need to be. So, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carried. May I have a motion to appoint Anthony Caputa to a part-time seasonal position of summer aide with a start date of Friday, April 21st, 2023, at an hourly rate of $14.20.
I'll move that.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carried. May I have a motion to appoint, do you have anybody named Smith or Jones?
No.
I mean, how do you pronounce that name?
It's Layla Gardumi.
Okay. To appoint Layla Gardumi to a part-time seasonal position of recreation leader with a start date of Friday, April 21st, 2023, at an hourly rate of $16.94.
I'll move it.
I'll second it.
So Layla, I take it, is going to be primarily the recreation.
Responsibility would be baths and cleaning as well.
Yeah, as well, but she's going to be a rec leader too. She's going to,
She'll do.
a little different.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay.
She's what David was formerly last year.
Yeah, okay. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carried. May I have a motion to appoint Chelsea Hendricks to a part-time seasonal position of summer aide with a start date of Friday, April 21st, 2023, at an hourly rate of $14.20.
I'll move that.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right. I don't think we need an executive session tonight, so may I have a motion to adjourn at 7:39.
I'll move it. I'll second that.
All in favor? Aye. Motion, meeting adjourned.